What's an oh shit moment where you realized you've been doing something the wrong way for years? I owned a light blue colored microwave for about 3 years that a family member gave me for a housewarming gift. I thought it was cool. Never saw a blue microwave before. One night, a buddy asked why I never took the blue plastic wrap off my microwave, then proceeded to peel it off for me. Damn, that bitch is silver. Still miss my blue microwave sometimes though. After moving to a new city, I went to the laundromat, and the Korean lady working was yelling at me about something I couldn't understand. After some pantomime, it became clear that she was upset I was putting in the wrong detergent, but it was the same kind I have been using for 8 years, since moving away to college and behind. Turns out, I've been washing my clothes with only fabric softener for nearly a decade. They always smelled good, so I never really thought about it. Not my proudest moment. My family always had a cup next to the bathroom sink in case you needed to rinse your mouth after brushing your teeth, or maybe get a quick drink of water in the middle of the night. My grandma had the same cup at her house. I used it for years whenever I was thirsty. One day she saw me doing this and said, "Don't use that cup, that's where grandma puts her teeth." When I was a kid, I was told that the paper that came on cupcakes, dough to muffins, was edible. I would spend a decade eating them like this, paper and all, until a friend pointed it out. I would be so terrified of you if I saw you do this. This is the first comment in this thread that's had me laughing out loud for about 30 seconds. Thank you for that. Travel frequently for work, and only just noticed that most laptop bags have a strap to place over a rolling suitcase handle. I taught myself how to play clarinet. 6 months later, someone told me that I'd been playing with the mouthpiece upside down. I used to fill the kettle by the spout. My parents have always done it this way. I thought the center part was mainly for decoration, but not functional. I don't know why I never questioned this. One day, I bought a new tea kettle, and my husband was like, "What the fuck? What is inside this?" And with great ease, opened the center to pull out a manual with instructions and whatnot. I was drinking dirty paper water for like 2 weeks. I used to pull my pants down all the way at the urinal. Found out I was lighting incense wrong. Boyfriend and I got a bunch to add to our collection of nice smells, and we would light them, and they would just start a little inferno. Convinced we were buying cheap, garbage incense, we stopped using them. I proceed to buy a different brand in a hope those would work. I test light, and same thing, it just goes up in an inferno. Roommate informs us you are supposed to blow them out once they catch. Oops. Edit. Who knew possibly burning the apartment down would lead to such a response to seemingly common knowledge of how incense work? I always thought eggplant tasted itchy, like itchy was a flavor, like sour or salty. Fed some to my baby and his face turned red wherever the eggplant touched. And I realized we're both just allergic to eggplant. And itchy isn't a flavor. One day, I used the key fob to remotely start my dad's car. It was an oh shit moment for him. 2 years and he didn't realize he had this handy little function. My dad bought an aftermarket remote start and took it in to get installed. When he went to pick it up, they asked him what was wrong with the factory one. I owned a car with swivel headlights, and it was very nice to have that. Discovered 3 years in that I had never turned on the swivel feature. Oh man, I thought the AC button in my car, Snowflake, was defrost, so I never used it in summer. Fuck, did I feel dumb. 2 years. I didn't find out that I was supposed to punch out for lunch until my third job, and even then it was because a coworker mentioned it in passing that they were clocking out for lunch. That's freaking awesome! I cannot believe none of your bosses did not ever say anything to you. At my first and only full-time job I've had, they didn't require you to clock out for lunch. They said they just docked 30 minutes off your pay so that you would have more time to get out to the break room and eat, instead of everyone lining up 5 minutes before lunch to try and hurry out to the break room. Not mine, but my dad has been spelling his name wrong his whole life. He's 51. His name is Jeffrey, and he's been spelling it like that since he learned how to spell his name. A few months ago, my mom pulled out his birth certificate, and we all learned it's actually spelled Jeffrey. Not sure if he spells it correctly now, but it was definitely an oh shit moment for him. Caulk guns. Everyone says that you're supposed to pull it towards you, but I saw a Reddit comment saying that they're designed to be pushed away instead. My boss looks at me funny for doing it, but it's exponentially cleaner and tighter. Edit. Quite a few of y'all are mentioning that you're unclear on what you're pushing away. When you caulk, you slide the entire gun across the crack that you're sealing. So it's that. You can only ever slide it towards you or away from you, unless you're going sideways, I guess. And most people pull the entire gun and tip towards them, whereas sliding it in the other direction works too. A few of y'all sound like you know exactly what you're doing and have added a couple other tips on how to do it cleaner and better too. So thanks for that. My wife and I have this ceiling fan light in our bedroom in the house we moved into 2 years ago. It has a remote control for the fan and lights. About a year and a half ago, the light suddenly stopped working. The fan works well, and we didn't have a ton of money, so we've just lived with lamps in the room, always being frustrated with how damn dark it is. I was scrolling some other thread on Ask Reddit Tfue a few weeks ago, and the top post was a guy talking about how his light stopped working years ago, and then he found out that it was just dimmed, which you do by holding down the button on the remote. It sounded so much like our fan, I went and tried it, dimmed. Living in a foreign country where I was actively learning the language, social cues go a long way when learning a language on the spot. That being said, someone once said a phrase to me while serving a hot dish, which I assumed as meaning "excuse me." After going through crowds and lines, replicating the same phrase in an attempt to be respectful of those around me, I abruptly found out that the phrase actually meant enjoy. Hindsight completely makes sense. The odd looks I would get by saying enjoy while squeezing past people all of a sudden made sense. Edit. Wowzers. Y'all really know how to make a grown man blush. Thanks for the gold and silver, you beautiful, beautiful strangers. I'm glad my mistakes bring such enjoyment and hilarity to the world. So this happened while I was living in Vietnam. The phrase was xin moi. It was even more deceiving because it was similar to the phrase for sorry, which is xin loi. That was year 1. The following 3 years were full of similar mistakes. Tonal languages are tough. Not because I've been doing something wrong my entire life, but saw it wrong. I'm colorblind, and my entire life I thought peanut butter was green until I turned 19. And when I found out it was brown, my mind was blown. It took so long because no one really talks about the color of things like that. When I first got a debit card and would go out to eat at restaurants with my friends, I would leave a cash tip on the table. When I got the receipt to put how much I was paying, I would write down how much money I left on the table. For at least 6 months, I gave double tips to every waitress I had. I did this to a pizza guy once. I gave him a cash tip, and when he gave me the receipt to sign, I put down how much cash tip I gave him. He told me, "Whoa, you're giving me more?" I was like, "Is that not how it works?" He said he'd correct it for me once he got back to the store. I felt pretty embarrassed. My mom refused to show me how to use a tampon because she thought I should stick to pads because they were safer. This was back when Googling how to do things wasn't an option, and I was the first in my friend group to get my period and a little sheepish about it, so basically I was shoving that sucker up there with the entire applicator for like 2 years, wondering why tampons didn't seem to work that well for me. It wasn't until I was in high school, and one of my friends went on a crusade against plastic waste and started advocating for tampons with no applicators, that all of a sudden I realized I had massively f***ed up. Edit. My highest rated comment ever and my first silver, and it's about how I was too dumb to figure out how to use a tampon in middle school. At least I've realized I'm not alone, as well as learned that a lot of people seem to read instructions before sticking foreign objects inside their bodies. Weird. Also, lay off my mom. Former school nurse here. The number of high school boys who don't know what circumcision is amazingly high. Many think they were born circumcised. When they finally see a foreskin, they are in complete awe. When they find out the brown ring on their penis is a scar from when their foreskin was removed, they are also amazed. My mom has been pronouncing Massachusetts Massachusetts for years, and no one corrected her because they thought she just had strong feelings about Massachusetts. My name is Ryan. It took me until I was in first grade to realize my name wasn't in the alphabet. My mom had told me my name was in the alphabet, and I felt so lucky. She obviously meant the letters to spell my name were in the alphabet, but nope. It took that long to realize the alphabet didn't go W, X, Ryan, Z. Don't feel bad. My birthday is in July. I was under the impression until I was 7 that the 4th of July, the fireworks specifically, were for my birthday. I felt really dumb, but also really sad when I realized they weren't. Sometimes I assume I know the lyrics to songs I have heard on the radio for a long time. I always sang Toto's Africa as I miss the rains down in Africa, until someone made fun of me and told me it's I bless the rains down in Africa. I argued, that makes no sense. Why would someone bless rain? It's a song about longing to return to Africa, which is why they miss the rain. Then I went home and looked up the lyrics. Even more fun when English isn't your first language. We found love in a homeless place. We found love in a homeless's place. Figured they were boning at a homeless shelter. That you do, in fact, need to disassemble your laundry dryer and clean the lint out from underneath the drum once per year. I'm 31 and never knew this. No one ever said anything. Never saw anyone do this. Crappiest thing is that my parents also learned this the hard way and never bothered to give me a tip when I bought my first dryer. Luckily, the wife and I discovered the lint buildup when changing the rollers. I said to my parents, "Wow, it really builds up in there." And they were like, "Oh yeah, you need to do that like once a year." Wow! So I had always assumed that gas stations had pipes that led to a nearby oil plant or something. I live in Houston, so during Hurricane Harvey in 2017, there was so much news about the gas stations being empty because they weren't being filled. I was in the car with my sisters and we were talking about it, and I mentioned I don't understand how the gas supply was limited when the pipes are underground and not affected by the flooding. They both looked at me with the most confused faces ever, and one of them said, "You do know that trucks come to fill up gas stations, right?" And I was completely shook by this and had no idea, and they asked me, "So when you see the big trucks at little gas stations in the city with the tubes in the ground, what do you think they were doing?" And I replied, "Filling up their gas." Not something I did wrong, but definitely something I thought wrong for 17 years. Well, this was a few years ago. I was the director of IT for a very large company. I was given a new cell phone and told to set up my voicemail. I don't know that when I recorded my name, it would be played to whomever I leave a voicemail for. Well, the name I recorded was Duder84 Corporate IT God did. I worked there for 4 years until someone in the hallway referred to me as the corporate IT god. I was so embarrassed. Since the dawn of time, I would pick up the silverware and utensils out of their tray in the dishwasher and put them away in their drawers, then go back and pick up more out of the dishwasher. Then one day, I saw my wife lift the tray out of the dishwasher and I legit stood there with my mouth open. Not wrong for years, but I work help desk and we use a specific, terrible piece of software for our support system, IBM Notes. It turns out that for the first 9 months I had been working there, it wasn't set up properly, so I wasn't sending any emails from it at all. No notifications that the ticket went to me, no responses from me, no close notifications, nothing. Someone noticed this, took a look, and fixed a setting. I immediately sent out over 1,000 emails to everyone in the company. I didn't realize I had to brush the back of my teeth as well as the front. I was a dumb kid. I blame toothpaste adverts. Until I was 15, had 9 filings and a root canal. When I realized at 18 that the phrase is up and Adam, not up and Adam, I was always wondering who the hell Adam was. Thought it was a stupid phrase. No one really ever told me you don't need to buy shoes with the 2 fingers space in front of the toes after your feet stop growing. I had been buying an entire size too big until about age 23. 23. One day in college, I decided to try a pair of Morel barefoot type shoes. And after reading the sizing guide, bam, mind blown. It's terribly obvious mistake I, 29F, like to blame on being an only child. But really, I'm just a fucking moron. Winding a watch that was battery powered for like a year. Ah, fuck. Thanks for making me think of that. Realize the multicolored tape measures glued to the door frames of gas stations, etc., are for identifying robbers, not for measuring yourself as you walk out. I mean, they can be, but that's not why they are there, unless you're the robber. I am lactose intolerant. I genuinely did not know this for the first 25 plus years of my life. I always had to go to the bathroom after eating something with cheese in it. One day, it just clicked. I bought some Lactaid, took it before the next time I ate cheese, and I didn't have to go to the bathroom. It was mind-blowing. I have no idea how I didn't make the connection for years. So I guess you could say instead of having a oh shit moment, I had a no shit moment. Wiping my ass. I always thought everyone reached their hand between their legs, but after someone making a joke about wiping their ass, I asked how they did it. Then for curiosity's sake, I asked a bunch more people. I'm the only person I know that wipes their ass from between their legs. Indeed, it seems to be more common than I thought. I always thought everyone did it like me, but I guess it's a pretty big split. Everyone I have asked near where I live all wipe from the side or standing up. I hear this conversation once in a while, and it always seems shocking to people that some wipe sitting down, some only wipe standing up. Some wipe from behind, some wipe from between their legs. It's almost as if we grew up not watching people wipe their ass lol. I didn't know you could take off the caps of those refrigerated coffee creamers. I had been stabbing through the foil with a knife for years until my uncle saw me and asked what the I was doing. LOL edit to say I'm a woman. People always think I'm a guy by my comments. Not that I was doing it wrong, but I never knew the little arrow next to the gas gauge in the car told you what side the gas tank was on. Mind freaking blown when I found out. Edit. I'm 40. I grew up without a mom. She passed when I was 6. I was afraid to ask my dad how to put a tampon in. One day, I made a comment, about age 18, to some friends that tampons hang out too far out your bajingo and made me feel like I waddled when I walk. My friend asked me how I put them in. I thought it would get stuck up there and wasn't inserting it far enough. Did it wrong for about 5 years. My friends still make fun of me for it. I can't help but use the dead mom card, but looking back, it's pretty common sense how to shove it up there. Edit. For all those asking, I didn't really feel comfortable with my body, so I'm not sure I really understood what the directions were asking. For others asking, my dad was a really good dad. Obviously, he made some general mistakes as a parent, as all parents do, but as a substitute mother, he did a great job. He taught me how to shave my legs, funny voices and all, and he was a Girl Scout troop leader for almost 10 years. He tried to figure out how to French braid, and he did comb my nasty-ass ratty hair on a daily basis. I accidentally logged my tips incorrectly for the first month or so of working at a restaurant. I'm not quite sure how I was doing it, but I ended up not getting taxed on a couple of $100s because I never logged them as income. Edit. This was only on cash tips, and I have now been made aware that I didn't need to log cash tips in the first place, so I did nothing wrong? For 20 plus years, I've been saying play it by year instead of play it by ear. After a lengthy argument and a quick Google search, I was left with my tail between my legs. Last month was the first time I discovered lint rollers were peelable. Literally sat there for a minute to take that in. Edit. I'm 20. I recently realized that the arrow to the right of the right comment box on Reddit mobile lets you skip to the next comment thread. Back in the early 2000s and 10s, my boyfriend and I had a PlayStation that we used for Netflix, etc., since we didn't have a smart TV. The controller was on such a short cord that we would always have to get up from the couch to change the program or push any buttons. My boyfriend also used to have to sit on the floor up close to the TV to play his video games, since the cord was so short. One day my brother came to visit. We put something on Netflix and got up to use the remote like we always did. My brother proceeds to unplug the controller, hands it to us, and says, "You realize this is a wireless controller, right? We are dumbfounded. Why would there be a cord coming from it?" Turns out that's just to charge our wireless controller. Mind blown. My mom used to refer to me as a bull in a china shop. Always heard it as bull in a china shop, thinking it was a compliment. At about 22, I hear someone else use the phrase and realize she meant bull, not bowl. We bought a nice liquor cabinet. We got it delivered and noticed it was a bit shorter than we thought. No biggie. 3 years later, we're moving. Lift up cabinet and these beautiful, ornate, screw-on legs wrapped in tape and bubble wrap fall off the bottom. Looks so much better now. Not really doing something, but I completely thought that the White House was in Washington, the state, until I was like 23. It's a hole in my knowledge I can neither explain nor defend. I have since visited and confirmed it's in DC. I thought Washington, DC and the District of Columbia were two separate places. I thought of a second one. I was incredibly sheltered growing up. Anything sex-related was taboo and not discussed. I was in middle school when instant messaging really became mainstream. I couldn't understand why the boy I had a crush on kept laughing at me and telling me not to use the shorthand cum for cum. I didn't find out for a few years. Related, I genuinely thought a hand job was essentially frantically waving side to side with the palm on the penis, and a blowjob was, you guessed it, blowing on a penis until probably around 8th grade. Sigh. I was dating an Asian woman some years ago, and when we got Chinese takeout, she completely unfolded the box and laid it flat like a plate. She said that was by design, and for the life of her could never understand why her friends always scooped it out onto another plate when the box was the plate. I now do this all the time and it weirds people out. The correct way to eat Chinese food is in front of the refrigerator, leaning against the counter with the box intact. Pronouncing hybrid as high bird. My husband repeated it to me in a snuffleupagus voice, and I swear I had a Ratatouille food critic flashback to every time in my life I said it wrong. I was 33. When I was 5, a Pizza Hut employee told me that the powder on the breadsticks was called fairy dust. Ordered extra fairy dust on my breadsticks until I was around 14 when an employee said, "Do you mean garlic salt?" It still devastates me to realize how obtuse I was. Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watch other videos.